Hey everyone, Chaos Elite here, and welcome to Tank Talk, a show where I combine two of my favorite things, gaming and aquariums. This show will be featuring gameplay from different types of first-person shooters, and while I discuss different things about aquariums, such as how to start one, what you'll need to get started, what type would suit you best, and so on. I will be talking also briefly about the gameplay you're watching at times, most likely at the beginning of each show, just to give you a description of what transpired and what you can look forward to and seeing in the gameplay. In this first episode, I'll be talking about how I became interested in aquariums and my experience with them from childhood until now. And just as a disclaimer, I am in no way whatsoever an expert on aquariums or claim to know what the best thing is for running an aquarium. I am simply going to be discussing my experiences and what I've learned in hopes to help others along the way. This video that you're watching now is featuring, as you can see, Battlefield 3. This is a round of conquest to Karg Island that actually took 45 minutes to play. I didn't even realize that it took 45 minutes until I was done, which is why it sped up and you're basically watching, you're starting right in the middle of this whole thing, this whole battle, and it's sped up because it would have been 45 minutes of me trying to talk, which is pretty much ridiculous. I could probably do it, but I didn't want to bore the heck out of you guys. Anyways, nevertheless, it does have some fairly decent footage that I wanted to share with you all. And yeah, so when the round started, my team was losing, and I mean losing bad. I will, was doing horribly at the beginning as well, and I don't do too well from here on out. I don't think either. I do better, but it's not the best. In the end, though, we ended up winning the match, surprisingly. And you'll see from the scoreboard, I think that I've played a fairly large role of getting us the win. So I hope you enjoy the gameplay while I talk to you about my fish tank. So here we go. My father was the one who actually got me into fish and aquariums in the first place. He owned a 55-gallon freshwater tank while I was a kid. It's actually funny that I remember that because he tore it down before I was even 5 years old. But I do remember my very first fish tank I ever had. It was a small 10-gallon freshwater tank that I put on my desk in my bedroom. My father helped me put it together. I had no clue what I was doing, and honestly, I don't think he did either. I mean, he taught me a few things about the water chemistry and stuff like that, but nothing too advanced. Although, I guess in hindsight, I suppose you wouldn't want to get too technical with a 10-year-old anyways. I had that 10-gallon tank for, I believe, about a year. I was only 10 years old, so I didn't really think it was going to last long anyways. The fish died, and I just kind of gave up on it. My father, on the other hand, he started up his own 30-gallon hexagon freshwater tank in our kitchen. It lasted for quite a while. It was a nice tank, but he kind of gave up on it too. And for the longest time, I hadn't had any kind of aquarium. So years passed. I moved on. Life happened. I got married, and later on, I decided that I wanted to try my hand at saltwater aquariums. So my wife bought me a 75-gallon tank for my birthday that was already set up and running saltwater fish. It was a fish-only tank with live rock, and admittedly, I was very wet behind the ears when it came to saltwater fish and aquariums. I made the mistake of not, doing a lot of research and made some poor decisions that ultimately led to the demise of the tank. I decided to then empty the tank and start over, but this time with freshwater, as I've had more experience in that area. I also decided to do a planted tank instead of having fake plants and stuff like that, which might not have been the best decision in the world, but hey, that's what I decided to do anyways. I had the tank up and running for a little over a year, and it was looking really nice. Then, again, life happened, and I got really busy and started to neglect the tank, and then everything ended up dying. Algae started to grow in the tank, and it just really looked terrible. So I decided to tear it down and do nothing with the tank for about a year. That year passed, and I was really starting to miss the aquarium and the fish. So I tried my hand once again at saltwater fish. This time I really took my time and did as much research as I could before I got started. So I started fresh with my 75-gallon tank. New rock, new sand, new filter, everything. There were some bumps in the road along the way, as I'm sure you can imagine. But luckily I had some fairly good resources that I'll get into, in other episodes that really helped me out. when I started the tank, my hope was to have a reef tank, with all the corals, the bright colors and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I learned that the things that I needed to get a reef tank or to run a reef tank were, admittedly out of my budget. And I'll discuss those things. The things you need to run a reef tank or fish only, and I'll just describe the differences between those in upcoming episodes. But anyways, I digress. I did start with 2 clownfish, then I got a coral beauty angelfish, a coral banded shrimp, a flame hawkfish, and a strawberry pseudochrome, and a yellow eye coal tang. Now, I didn't add all these fish at the same time, as I'm sure some of you are thinking. I took my time, and I believe I added all these fish over the course of a month. The coal tang was the last fish that I added to the tank, though. Well, unfortunately, the coal tang ended up dying days after I put him into the tank. How? I don't know, but there were no signs of any kind of illness or anything like that, but he did end up going. And about a day later, I was really surprised that I noticed that my coral beauty had a ton of white spots on him. This turned out to be a parasite called ick. It's a very bad parasite. It ended up, it can decimate the tank, and that's pretty much what ended up happening to me. I was able to get him out of the tank and put him in quarantine, but he ended up dying. Shortly after that, my clownfish and the pseudochrome ended up dying as well from the same parasite. Or at least I think it was from the same parasite. The only fish I had left was the flame hawkfish, which I learned, surprisingly enough, was less susceptible to ick as other fish. I did, however, take him out of the tank, put him in quarantine, and I left the main tank fishless for about 8 weeks, which, from what I've researched, was the only way to rid the tank of ick. So, after all that, after the 8 weeks, I decided to switch to a semi-aggressive tank. So this time I got a yellow tang, a snowflake eel, a flame angel, a fuzzy dwarf lionfish, and I put my flame hawkfish back into the tank. I had those fish for quite a while, actually. I would say better part of 4 or 5 months. And I'll actually, in the description, I'll have a link to my personal channel where you can see videos of that tank, of my tank, with those fish in it at that time. As the fish got bigger, though, the snowflake eel especially, he started out, I want to say he was 12 inches long. He got to about 20 inches real fast within a couple months. He became very aggressive, more than I thought he would, to be honest with you. He ended up eating my Anthias, and he ended up eating, or at least not eating entirely, but he definitely killed my yellow tang. So I had to take him out of the tank, and I sold him to my local fish store. Later on, my flame hawkfish ended up dying as well. I don't know what he died from. It was very weird. So anyways, that brings me to the present. I've had my fish tank up and running now for a little over a year, which again, from my research, tells me that it should be fairly stable. And I've gone back to attempting to run a pseudo reef tank. I have some soft corals in there, some LPS corals. I'll get into those different things in later episodes and stuff like that if you don't know what I'm talking about. I have now in the tank 2 Darwin clownfish, the fuzzy dwarf lionfish that I had before, the flame angelfish that I had before. I have an arc eye hawkfish, a neon dottyback, and a tomini tang. These fish have been in the tank for quite some time now. I want to say the better part of 4 to 5 months, with the exception of the arc eye hawkfish, which I just added recently. I'm hoping that I'll have an update of the video, or an updated video of my fish tank as it is now on my other channel, and in later episodes I'll have a description, or a link in the description to that video. So yeah, so in my next episodes I'll be talking about what you will need to set up a fish tank, different types you can have, and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to subscribe to our channel by hitting the subscribe button in the upper right hand corner of this video, and also hit the like button underneath this video so you can tell us that if you liked it, enjoyed it, want to see more. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Hope maybe you learned something, maybe not. It really wasn't a learning type of discussion. I just wanted to let you guys know my experiences, or what, where I'm coming from as far as my fish tank and how I run it and stuff like that. And later on, I'm gonna hopefully teach talk about, not teach you guys, but talk about how to set up your own fish tank and the different types you're gonna need, and also talk about illnesses, sicknesses, what to look for, how to treat, and all that stuff. So, again, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy the rest of the gameplay. All right, thanks a lot.